Call the meeting to order. Would everyone please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dick, would you call the roll, please?
Butler?
Here.
Jordan?
Here.
Lipscomb?
Here.
Oakridge? Here. Smith?
Here.
Brash?
Here.
Vincenzo?
Here.
All members are present.
I want to thank everybody that's here this evening. It's nice to see some people in the council chambers. We do have tonight several speakers that will be on the agenda that council may have some questions for. So once we get to that part of the meeting, so we're not stepping on each other trying to talk, if you have any questions for these people, please raise your hand and be recognized prior to asking any questions. That way we can try to stay organized. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the minutes from the January 3rd meeting. Has everyone received a copy of their minutes? Does anyone have any questions on those?
This is just on the minutes.
It's all part of the same.
The attachment?
Yep, the attachment is part, it's not actually the minutes of the meeting because it doesn't apply to business conducted by council. However, anytime in the past, anytime any letter or statement or anything was made and read in council, it did not become part of the minutes, but it was allowed to be put on as an attachment, and it will be on the website if people choose to read it.
So I have a couple comments about the attachment.
Okay.
So is now the time?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I think I just brought up the first part that I think that the attachment should be allowed for sure, but just not part of the 1219 minutes, just because it wasn't 1219. And then I just wanted to make a comment about the second paragraph, and I dispute the paragraph, take exception that I didn't see anything in social media to disparage the councilwoman. And I think that statement about other council members paints in a very broad brush. And I didn't see anything untruthful or inaccurate. In the third paragraph, due to a work conflict, I was unable to attend the meeting, but did view the recording. I don't believe that the councilwoman was being obstinate at all, but I would respectfully request that if the councilwoman or any of us is ever concerned about a violation of ORC 570512, particularly when our city is trying to help a family, that they bring the concern to the administration prior to the meeting. The delay in getting the funds to the family could have been prevented. Paragraph 4, I believe the councilwoman's concerns, really all of our concerns are valid. Any concern we have is valid. And I agree with the councilwoman that it's our job to voice our concerns on behalf of our citizens. But I also believe it's in the best interest in the city, which is also part of our job to communicate with city officials. And finally, regarding paragraph 5, just like to say it seems clear that there was a better way to process the money and set up the account for the turkey trot. But let's not forget that the event was to benefit a local family. And it was a good thing. And a lot of people worked hard and collaboratively and successfully for that to happen. And I just don't want to lose that point.
Okay. And to go ahead, just to clarify, we have had several times over this administration and the previous administration where someone submitted a letter or a correspondence or a statement that actually did not have to do with the actual business minutes of the meeting, but they were allowed, since it was brought up in council and read or discussed, it has been always allowed to have that put on the, attached to the minutes. And it would also be in the website, if anybody, as they read the minutes, if they want to read the attachment, it will be there also. That being said, are there any other questions?
I would like to address that. I mean, I want to put this to bed.
I did not want to put my medical business out in the street, but on November 29th, I came home from Cleveland Clinic after having a tumor removed from my neck. 2 days later is when we received that. I was not ready to go through all of this with that legislation. I looked at the legislation on Monday, and that's when I went through it. I mean, I should not have to explain all that, but that's why I didn't call anybody. I mean, it is what it is, so.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions on the minutes or on the attachment? Okay, at this time, will someone make a motion to pass the minutes as official? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Take a roll call vote to approve the minutes for the January 3rd meeting.
Butler,
Abstain?
Jordan,
Yes.
Lipscomb,
Yes.
Oakridge,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Thrash,
Yes.
Vincenzo.
Yes.
6 members in favor, 1 abstention.
Okay, the minutes for the January 3rd meeting are official. Okay, we do have a couple of people in here this evening to address council. First one will be Mr. Papini. He's representing Reading Health Right, and he has a request of council which they will have to consider, decide, and see what they want to go. Mr. Papini, thank you for coming.
It's on. Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I am Frank Papini. I'm from St. Clairsville, and I'm the president of the United Steelworkers Retiree Organization in the Upper High Valley. And as such, since we have close ties with the Wheeling Health Right, I was asked to come here as an agent for Director Kathy Brown. Okay, you all know what the Wheeling Health Right is. And she asked me to present a letter, but for those in the know, it is a free clinic. It's for the underinsured and uninsured people in the valley, and they service all counties in West Virginia and Belmont County. In Belmont County alone, they service 1,400 people, okay? And they're asking for your help because they've received grants and fundraising, which has been slow, and different monies from, if they receive it in West Virginia, it has to stay in West Virginia. As I approached the commissioners about this problem earlier, okay, Belmont County, they have to get money from Belmont County to pay Belmont County residents. And that's why I'm here to ask your help. They've come up with a plan. Former St. Clairsville residents, James and Marlene Everson from Atwood Lake, they're offering to provide grants of up to $20,000. What they've asked me to do, and I've already addressed Martins Ferry, they've asked me to address council, okay, and request that over a 2-year period, it's $10,000 a year. If you could allocate that money to them, they would match that money, okay? And they would also match the allotments that the Belmont County Commissioners provide. And that's a lot of money for them, you know, and that's going to be a lot of money for the health right itself. I believe you have the letter that I sent you, okay, so I got a copy, but I dropped it off, and that's cool. But they need help. And I know 10 grand, I'm not here, you know, begging for money. This is a tough time to be asking for money. I understand that. But they're asking you for $20,000. And when you consider that last year alone, they paid out $214,400 for people in St. Clairsville alone, okay? And they also, and I went to Ferry, just to be fair, they paid out $428,800 for Martins Ferry residents. I ask that you contact them and just talk to the director and see what you can do. And you know, I hate to be begging for money, but they need help. Because I promise you, and I know the situation well, when the money from Belmont County dries up, they're going to turn away the 1,400 people that they treat because they have no money for it, and they can't allocate funds across state lines. So I'm here to plead for you to talk to her and see if you can help us in some way or form. And for that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Does anyone have any questions they want to, Christie?
Could you please repeat the amount of money paid out for St. Clairsville residents?
St. Clairsville residents, there was $214,400, almost $250,000.
Last year.
Last year, that was in 2021. Now they have their 22s coming up. And it's just the caseload keeps increasing. I mean, that's facts, okay? So,
The request, oh, sorry. The request is 10,000 each year? from the
10,000 a
city?
year for 2 years, and that monies will be matched, okay? From both cities, and actually their grant is for $100,000, okay? So hypothetically, okay, the 40,000 from both cities will be matched for the 80, and then the 25,000 that we asked the commissioners to reinstate, and they did, that money will be matched, so the total will be $100,000 over a 2-year period. Okay, that's how it's gonna work. So
And is
anything you can do would really be great.
Is that something that we can do as a city?
I would have to look into it.
Is there anybody that they could contact if council, because they would have to obviously vote on this, if council has someone that they could contact within the
Actually,
organization?
yes, you can, I was advised that the director, Kathy Brown, the director of the Wheeling Health Right, she said she'd be more than willing to sit down and talk to anybody about this, you know. I'm just the go-between, okay? She asked me to be here, okay?
I think I have her phone number here, 740-232-5352.
Somewhere in that ballpark area. You caught me off guard right now. Yeah, we'll go with that, okay? So she's the contact person, and please, I just ask you to contact her because they are in dire need. Because they were at the point before I went to the commissioners the last time, because commissioners were gonna cut their $25,000 allotment, and United would cut their $25,000 allotment for Belmont County, and they were gonna turn people away. And you're talking 1,400 people in this county, okay? So they need help, you know, and I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
For council, here's the letter that I actually got from Ms. Brown, 3rd of January. It's got her phone number and a little bit of what Mr. Papini was describing. If somebody wants to contact her and get some further questions, and then the law director will look into whether we can actually do that or not.
I mean, as president of the council, do you want to contact her on our behalf so that we have the information?
I'm sorry?
As president of council, instead of 7 different phone calls, you want to contact her to get further information?
Well, I don't know what questions, individual questions that people might have. So if you have any questions, write them down, get them to me, and then we'll contact her and go from there. And like I said, the law director will find out whether this is something that we can legally do or not.
Yeah, because
But
I
if
mean,
you have
that's
any
going to be one of my
questions-
first questions.
Right.
Is something that the city can even do, right?
Right.
So like I say, if anybody wants to think about some questions they would like to ask her, just got to jot them down, get them to Jacob or get them to me, and we'll find out if it's legal, and then we'll go from there. Any other questions on that?
Yeah, can we get a copy of that letter? Thank
Sure.
you.
Mr. Papini, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next under citizen hearing is our fire chief, Mr. Tim Hall. Tim, would you step up, please?
Good evening, City Council, Administration, and residents. I want to introduce a couple of people, if you don't mind, real quick. Beside me here is the Fire District's Fiscal Officer, Matthew King, and we're here to discuss our building project, and I want to introduce some of those who've been on this building project for over a year now that's been through this process. Captain Curtis Kyer, Assistant Chief Daniel Grady, Firefighter Alex Gazdig, Lieutenant Jeremy Wright, Firefighter Nick Jesse, and Firefighter Shane Smallnack. So just want to put that out there real quick. Earlier in 2022, we came to you with plans of a remodel and addition to our current main firehouse. This project goes back to 2015, when at the time the fire department tried to get ownership of the building, but was unsuccessful. Thanks to City Council, the mayor, and administration, We finally obtained ownership in December of 2021. As soon as we received word of getting ownership, we immediately put an internal committee together to strategically plan our needs at the physical facility. Through many meetings internally and externally with elected leaders, we are now at the next step of this process. The fire district does not qualify for USDA construction grants, but does qualify for low-interest loans that can be termed out to 40 years if need be. We've met personally with Governor DeWine at the firehouse in hopes of finding an alternative funding source through the state of Ohio Appalachian money with no prevail. We've had discussions with staff at Congressman Johnson's and Senator Brown's office too. After speaking with staff at the state of Ohio Representative Don Jones, the capital fund bill doesn't open again until 2024 and is in high demand. The time to act is now. If this project would have been done in 2015, the estimated cost was between $1.5 to $1.6 million. It is now at $3.7 million. Those who call us for assistance, we are now call upon you to help us. We recognize the severity of the current situation with inflation and struggles, but the fire department is struggling too. The fire district has not added millage since 1998. That's 25 years operating on the same millage. Since our last millage increase, our call volume has increased by 102%. I believe Council President Vilas or maybe the mayor had disseminated our call volume statistics for you to reference. We did have a replacement levy for full transparency in 2012 that enabled us to add one person per shift. Since then, our call volume has increased by over 70%. The CTFD Fire Board, administration, and its 41 firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs are asking for your support of our levy, which is a replacement with an additional mill. You also have statistical data in front of you based off of homestead exemption and what on a $300,000 home assessment that would cost, which is $96 a year, which equates to 26 cents a day. Also keep in mind the county's in the process of reassessing property values. This levy would be on current values, not the new ones that are coming down the road. This levy will also allow us to improve upon our retention and recruitment of qualified professionals to continue to offer the emergency medical and fire suppression services our residents and visitors have become accustomed to. The cost of this has been disseminated to council, as I said earlier, and we encourage, I repeat, encourage all residents to have questions to reach out at us at 740-695-5147, and we also encourage you to come and personally view the firehouse and speak to our members and our administration. I thank you for your time and welcome any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for the fire chief?
Yes, ma'am.
So first, thank you, all of you guys, for what you do. Appreciate that. What do you need from us?
Asking for your support as a council as a whole and administration. Like I said, going back, we understand the unique times just coming out of a pandemic and people with inflation struggling. We did not want to resort to this. However, we're at a crossroads where we need to move forward. And we're committed to the project, not only the project, but sustaining quality men and women in our fire district to serve our residents and moving forward.
Mike?
I'd just like to say that I think you have the support of council. I think you had the support of council when we voted to turn the building over to you. So I don't think that's a problem with council. I don't want to speak for everybody, but you have my support.
Jim. I just want to stress to everyone what a value it is to have this fire department and ambulance service in town. When we initially spoke, when I'd first gotten elected mayor, they're having growing pains. And they said, we may have to locate outside of town because we've got to add on to the building. We now have the possibility we could have female firefighters, and we have to provide for them to have showers and overnight quarters. And I can tell from my own personal experience what a wonderful, wonderful group of individuals these guys are. They've been to my house when my folks were ill, never questioned it. They came. They took them to the hospital. It is such a value to have them here in town. And anything you can do to support them and to support this levy, I mean, what is that, like 15 trips to Starbucks in a year? Maybe only 10. I don't know what a grand latte is now. But if there's ever anything that's value added and adds to our community, it's our wonderful fire department and our police. So I thank you guys so much for everything you do. I'm behind you 1,000%, and I thank you for coming here tonight.
Thank you for your support.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, sir.
And you said you got no support there from Governor DeWine, or?
We were hopeful with the Appalachian grant, the $500 million that they'd announced for the 32 counties, that they may change some of the rulings. However, fire station construction and/or revitalization remodeling does not qualify. That was straight from a staff member at his office. When they released the RFP, it was not included.
Thank you, and thank you for all you guys do.
Thank you for your time.
Chief, I got one.
I'm sorry, yes, sir.
What about the ISO rating? If you guys actually go through with this and then we continue with the water distribution project, talk about that a little bit.
So we do intend to putting together a bifold and disseminating information to residents. We're going to walk the whole entire fire district, which from talking to some elected leaders takes about 6 to 7 weeks. Part of that FAQ was we've met with agents from insurance services offices, which sets your commercial and business and residential carrier fees for your fire protection services. So with that, we proposed in this remodel a training tower. It sounds elaborate, but it's 3 stories in cinder block that allows us to do some training internally and also keep some employees local. What that means is some of the water system upgrades to the city of St. Clairsville, some internal controls we've already put in place in the fire district, and this training tower will enable the fire district to move from an ISO rating 4 to an ISO rating 3 in return to saving the taxpayers money on their insurance premiums for fire protection services.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Chief. I think, being a lifelong resident of St. Clairsville, we've been blessed with, as long as I've been alive here, with a great fire department and police department, and whatever support we can give them, I'm behind 100%.
For clarity, this is not our normal staffing. These gentlemen have taken time out of their evening to be here tonight. This is not our normal on-duty crew. Our normal staffing is 5 and 3, so 8 on duty, so I don't want you to get the wrong idea. For full transparency. And I also, Council President, we have started a new program that's been the Times Leader a couple of times. It's been funded by multiple county entities. At the end of your public forum, I would love for the CARES Director to disseminate that information too if you have time, but I understand you're under time constraints as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fellas, thank you. Appreciate you coming in here and putting your time and your life on the line, also the same as the police officers do. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the reports. Mayor Tolman.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm going to keep this quite brief because we've had other people speaking. First of all, I'd like to remind everyone that we're meeting tonight on Tuesday because we celebrated the memory of Martin Luther King yesterday. And I have a proclamation. Whereas, let us honor Dr. King's legacy by keeping alive the spirit of community and compassion that always sees us through challenging times and recommit to realizing his dream of a more equitable society and world. And to quote Dr. King, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Catherine Tolman, Mayor of St. Clairsville, do hereby proclaim January 16, 2023 as a day of remembrance for Dr. Martin Luther King. We now see the holidays growing distant behind us. We've started looking forward to spring. Some of the projects are getting started. Border Patrol has started work on the project under the interstate. I'm sure Jeremy will go over that a little more fully. And hopefully we'll be finished by early spring. We met on audio conference with our insurance reps. I've met with Eric several times regarding some things going on at the rec center, and I've met with Donnie and Darren and Jeremy regarding some of the city projects. So that's about it in a nutshell.
Okay,
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions or comments for the mayor? Okay, we'll move on to Service Director, Mr. Jeremy Green.
All right, good evening, council. We've got 5 pieces of legislation tonight. The third reading for the TAP grant application, that's an emergency. Obviously, third reading, don't need the emergency language, but it's in there so that we can execute it. The other 4 are all emergency items, and we need them passed tonight. There's a grant for the Highway EPA on January 25th that's due. the gas aggregation governance plan, so we can actually be able to get under moving and be able to lock in a rate if it comes in. Bureau of Workers' Comp Safety Grant. And then we actually were able to find a truck. So we would like to purchase the truck because we've got 3 of them that are about ready to actually keel over and die. 14 different meetings the last couple weeks, completed projects. We've had budget meetings going through it. We've had our water nodes starting to be installed in different residents and everything else. Our new water tank modem was in. We're also advertising for a wastewater superintendent and an assistant electrical superintendent. As the mayor mentioned, Border Patrol is mobilized on the site. We're trying to work out a schedule in coordination with, we're coordinating with AEP, the gas company, the fire department, actually kind of ironic that they're here tonight, and then Ohio EPA. Upcoming projects, was notified that the state has passed House Bill 145, which is additional monies that are available for House Bill 168. That is the grant that we got for the distribution system for the $5 million. What I'm being told, though, is that it is only able to have the stuff that was already submitted. So we're talking the 3 projects we submitted: the I-70 project, the distribution, and then Bellevue. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm not holding my breath. We've already got $5 million. I don't think they're going to give us any more. But another big one coming up. Christmas tree pickup this week. So if the residents have Christmas trees, we're going to be sending the street department guys around looking for stuff and picking them up. If the residents want to call the city building, leave us their address, we'll make sure that they're picked up. The trees are going to be recycled. I do believe, Jacob, they're going to the Beagle Club. I think we coordinated that with your dad. So, still working on the the Route 40 water line extension for Trinity, going through there. We've had, since that time, we've also had a developer come in, and they've purchased a section of property out at that end of town. So we're going to work with them to see whether or not we're going to need to upgrade the upgrade that we did that we haven't done yet. So that's a mouthful. Building projects still in progress, still working on things back and forth, updating policies and procedures, details. We updated our I&I control plan, and then was approached by AFSCME, the union, to start discussing the contract negotiations when they'd start. Departments, electric department, pretty much the same thing. They're doing maintenance, pole replacement, service work, disconnects. Water department, wastewater nodes, water line work, working on the policies and procedures, the projects we mentioned, the distribution, still hauling sludge out of the water pump or the water lagoon, fixing hydrants from curb boxes and valves. Knock on wood, we're at 0 water line breaks for the year. Still working on nodes, going through it. We're 1 guy short now in that department. He had some surgery, but he's actually estimated to be back on the 30th. Street department, we're patching potholes, we're ditching where we can. It's estimated we used about 100 tons of salt so far, and probably, I don't know, 50 of that was on the peanut oil spill from the Bell store up to Route 40, because nobody had any oil dry, so we improvised. It worked. Rec center, there's not much going on there, but he did want me to note that there is a fundraiser for Avery Henry on February 25th. It's not being sponsored by the city or the recreation department. Somebody rented the gym, and Eric was going to help out with that. Police, our K-9 unit is in service. Our police chief is on vacation this week, so I wish him a happy vacation. TJ's here, our lieutenant, he'll give us a rundown of what's going on. Good of the city, as I mentioned, we got 1 guy out sick. We have 2 advertisements out, as mentioned before, one for a wastewater superintendent who gave his 2-week notice last week, and then assistant electrical superintendent. And that's about everything.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Does anyone have any questions for the service director? Donnie?
Of course, the water update across I-70.
They're mobilizing, as I mentioned in there. We're trying to coordinate with AEP because they've got that 69 kVW project where they're relocating that major power line to the substation, going right where we need to. Gas line's got a 4-inch transmission line in the way, of course. And then once we actually get that, we're coordinating with ODOT to be able to close down the lane, to get in there, to excavate it out and go through it. Once that happens, we get the schedule. I've already talked to Chief about having a confined space crew available just in case anything would happen, to have them on site. So a lot of dancing and not as much digging as I'd like. So
Getting close.
yes, very close. It's just not as fast as I'd like it to be.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Jeremy, this graph goes with the gas aggregation? Are you
Yes.
gonna talk about that
We were
more?
just, well, when we get to the legislation, we'll
Okay.
let the experts speak on that.
Sounds good.
Any other questions or comments for the service director? Thank you, Jeremy.
You're welcome.
As he stated, the chief's on vacation, so we have Lieutenant Stewart here this evening. Do you have a report for the chief this evening?
Just very briefly, yeah. We have our new K9 here to meet everybody. About 2 weeks ago, we put in service our new K9. His name is Ruger. We also obtained a pre-owned vehicle that housed the dog. Okay. Within that 2 weeks, we have had numerous sniffs. The dog is a sniff dog. It is a tracking dog. It is not a bite dog. Since it went into service, we've had numerous arrests, numerous charges, drugs taken off the streets, guns taken off the streets, and I say plural guns, just in a 2-week period. So that adds to our other K9 Odin. We have a second to none K9 program here now. Most of the training, most of the funding that has been needed for this K9 is donated. And we are still receiving donations, just like our last dog. And we still are taking them if anybody wishes to. But our K9 program is very successful and very proud of it. And he's supposed to be coming in. Outside of that, the rest of our department, our fleet is in fantastic condition. Our morale is high and all is well with us.
Thank you.
I do notice that there was a Odin, union T-shirt done by the fire department as a fundraiser. Maybe there might be a Ruger one coming, Lieutenant Kyer.
We have a building to work on now.
So much for the dog.
There will be
It's both.
t-shirts the next council meeting.
It's both. We can have both.
Probably have to take it out to the grass.
That would help.
Just write in council, it's fine.
Hey, TJ, I have a question. Will Ruger be going down to do checks through the schools?
Yeah, since Ruger's not a attack dog, so to speak, or a bite dog, it's a much better animal to have around places like that, events, everything. You'll notice that Ruger is a very playful, fun dog, but an absolute supreme drug detector and tracker. And here he comes.
Hey, Ruger.
All right.
You have to see him.
Who are all these people?
He's a floppy here.
He's about a 1-year-old German short-hair pointer. As I'm sure Lieutenant Stewart was saying, his job is narcotics detection and tracking. He is phenomenal at both. He's still a pup. He's got some growing to do. He's got some learning to do, but so far we've done pretty good. So
You need to feed that dog.
he eats more than my dogs at home. So
TJ, will you take him down to sniff lockers at the school and things like that?
absolutely,
Good.
Sam. Yeah, he's really good with. Again, he's trained on. He's state certified on methamphetamine, heroin, fentanyl, crack, and cocaine. Thus far, he's done excellent on sniffs. He's He's what's considered a very, very high drive dog, which is what you want. Basically what they do when they start training these dogs in the, at the training facility, they build them on a toy drive. So if I would bring out his ball right now, which is his reward for when he indicates on a vehicle or an odor or a track, he turns on, to put it that way. All right, Stan. Stan, good boy.
There goes it.
Good boy. So when I'm running him on a vehicle and he indicates on a car, the toy is his reward. So, again, obviously, if there's no indication that he doesn't get a toy, which sometimes he doesn't like, but you'll have that. Good boy. But he's just a very fun, playful dog. One of the other reasons why a dog like this is very important, we had a traffic stop, if I may. We had a traffic stop where my partner had arrested a male for some things. And the male had 2 small juveniles in the vehicle. The juveniles were obviously very upset, very unhappy about the situation. So I said, hey, you guys want to play with the dog? And got the dog out and they played with him, and he just, they smile from ear to ear. So kind of a good thing about this dog. Another thing too is his tracking abilities are good for multiple things. Obviously he'll find bad guys in the woods. He just can't bite them, but he can find them. Another good thing is we have a lot of juvenile facilities around here. So they like to run away from the juvenile facilities. So another good thing that he can safely track a juvenile into the woods or anywhere without worrying about the dog biting them or harming them or anything like that, as well as maybe missing elderly or things like that. So there is a lot of good advantages to this dog, and we greatly appreciate the city and the community for backing this program. I know we've gotten started getting some donations from places so far, so we greatly appreciate that. These programs are not cheap, but as I'm sure Lieutenant Stewart was telling you, the amount of drugs that we find just in city limits are kind of baffling. I know in the year of 2022, our department made over 100 arrests, drug-related arrests from bulk amounts of fentanyl, methamphetamine. I mean, that stuff, you might not think, St. Clair's was one of the nicest cities in the area, but that stuff moves through here all day. So these programs help prevent it and help keep our community a little bit safer. So we greatly appreciate the support from the city, from the mayor, and on down, and we're going to try to catch as many bad guys as we can. So thank you, guys.
Did you have a question?
Yes, sir.
How many years of service can we get out of the dog before you have to retire?
My GSP here, God willing, probably 8, 10.
Good.
Yeah, so he's still a pup right now, so he's got a lot of puppy tendencies, but he's really good in the kennel at home. We train pretty much every day with different things. So yeah, probably 8 to 10 years old. So yep.
Before he has to retire.
Before he has to retire, yeah. Then he can just mosey around all day. So, but for right now, he's got to work.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Officer Wayne, thank you very much for volunteering and going to training with him. You guys make a really good team.
No problem. Any other questions from anybody?
Thank you.
Be happy to answer. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, DJ.
All I can add to that is what you just said. Thank you guys so much for supporting our department the way you do. It's careful, but it's unconditional, and we really, really appreciate everything from you and all the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for the lieutenant? Thanks, TJ. Okay, we'll move on to Finance Director Annette Weldon.
Good evening, everyone. I can't top the dog thing. We're going to get boring now.
Wrong place on the
Right. So Jeremy and I are working on the 2023 final appropriations. We hope to have those to you guys by the 30th, possibly sooner. So the final appropriations will be up for a vote on the first meeting in February, then the second reading in February, and hopefully pass at the first meeting in March. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Annette. Does anyone have any questions for the Finance Director? Okay, thank you, Annette. Okay, we'll move on to planning and zoning. Mr. Murphy.
Thanks, Jim. I'm continuing to work on the ODOT Local Roads Oil and Shale Grant Program. That has to be submitted before the end of the month. Remember, this is a 100% grant up to $500,000. If the project is estimated above that, we could choose to fund the rest of the project, or we would be required to. We could always scale back the project, or we could just say, well, you know, we can't afford it this time. But this is too good of an opportunity not to apply for. So any questions, you can always ask me about that. I met with the new owner of a 17.5 acre parcel on the west side of town. They have interest in developing the site. I'll let Christy, she'll talk a little bit about that. But any questions of her or me, feel free to ask. Everything's very preliminary now, so there's really not a lot of information that we do have. I met with the fire department last week and their architect. Tim was there as well, and Dan. And they kind of reviewed their project again and what they're kind of trying to propose. And they're looking for grant opportunities now. And it doesn't sound like grants maybe are possibilities, but they explained a little bit of their proposal now as far as the funding of the project. And they've been very good to work with also. That's it.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Murphy? Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to the council committee reports. Finance, Mr. Vincenzo.
Yes, we had a finance committee meeting tonight, and our director of finance, she gave us updates on our finances for the end of the year. Our December and year-end bank statements are balanced. Our expenditures closed out the year at 70.125%. Our revenue closed out the year at 97.349%. Like Annette said, we plan on the budget to be voted on in the first meeting in March. Also, council would like to have, appropriations before us, before the first meeting in February, so that we can review and make any changes and give us plenty of time to do that. So we're looking forward to that first meeting in February. We also discussed all the legislation and the grants that Jeremy's working on right now. We hope to get some of them grants will be put to good use. But there's definitely more on that to come. Like Jeremy said, we're going to be looking for a new wastewater superintendent, and we're looking for an assistant electric superintendent. Also, we got a good opportunity in front of council tonight for a new pickup truck, which are very hard to come by. And our next finance committee is going to be on Tuesday, February 21st at 6:15 p.m. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Anybody have any questions for Don? Okay, we'll move on to utilities. Gary, do you have anything on utilities?
I don't have anything to add to the report that was given last meeting. Our next utility meeting is February 6th, 6:15.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for utilities? We'll move on to police. Mr. Smith.
I have no report. It was mentioned the chief is out of town, so there's no meeting tonight. Our first meeting of the new year this year will be second Monday in February, or Tuesday. Someone mentioned Tuesday. Tuesday? So that's when our next meeting will be.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mike? Okay, we'll move on to streets north side. Mike, you have anything on north side streets?
No report until I get up to speed on the committee. I haven't been on this committee before, so hopefully I'll have a report next meeting.
Okay, street south side, Mr. Thrash, you have anything on the?
No report.
Anything on safety?
No report.
Building and grounds, Ms. Oprich.
Yeah, so this is a new committee for me as well. So our first meeting of 2023 will be on Friday at 2 o'clock. This Friday, January 20th at 2 o'clock in the council chambers. And committee members are Councilman Thrash and Councilman Smith. So we'll be meeting here with the service director then.
Thank you, Beth. Any questions for Beth? All right, we'll move on to Planning Commission. Ms. Lipscomb.
Yes. The Planning Commission may have a meeting in the next couple of months. As Tom mentioned, he did meet with the new owner of the 17.5-acre parcel on the west side of the city near exit 215. That new owner is looking into developing the property for commercial use, which would require a rezoning of that property. So he will keep council informed, and I will. And that's it.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Ms. Lipscomb? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Fire District. Ms. Jordan.
I have nothing to add to what the chief said, except for the fact that the board is behind this endeavor 100% for obvious reasons. And our next meeting is tomorrow at 8 o'clock at the main firehouse.
AM?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Anybody have any other questions for Linda? Okay, we'll move on to Recreation. Christie?
Not a whole lot of new business. All the same sign-ups are still open for the various sports and activities. You can find that information online. And the next rec board meeting is this Thursday, January 19th at 4:30 p.m.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about the rec department? Okay, move on to the Park District. Linda, you have anything on the Park District?
Actually, the Park District has a lot going on, but as of now, the city has nothing to do with it. There's no involvement whatsoever. So anybody that has any questions or wants further information can call Kate at 740-298-1139. The next board meeting is February 13th at Premier Legacy Bank, 4:30 p.m. on, as I said, February 13th.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Does anybody have any questions for Linda on park? Okay, that concludes our council committees. We'll move on now to ordinances and resolutions. Law Director Elizabeth Flick.
Okay, council has before it tonight 5 pieces of legislation. There are 4 under the first reading, all requiring, it's been requested they be passed on emergency basis. And then there is one up for a 3rd reading, and I'll just take them in order, and you can vote.
Okay.
The first one up is resolution number 2023-03, and that's the resolution authorizing the Public Service Director to submit an application to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency's Ohio Public Water System Equipment Grant for grant funds for equipment for the public water system and declaring an emergency. And as Jeremy mentioned, this grant application is due on January 25th.
Okay. Thank you, Jake. Would you read it first reading, please?
Resolution number 2023-3, a resolution authorizing the Public Service Director to submit an application to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency's Ohio Public Water System Equipment Grant for grant funds for equipment for the public water system and declaring an emergency.
Okay, at this time, that's the first reading. Does anyone wish to consider this emergency legislation?
I move that the rules requiring ordinances and resolutions to be read on 3 separate readings be suspended and declaring an emergency.
Do we have a second? Mr. Thresh. Okay, we'll now take a vote on considering this emergency legislation.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Okay, we're 7-0 on considering this emergency legislation. So Jacob, would you read 2023-03 for the final reading?
Resolution number 2023-03, a resolution authorizing the Public Service Director to submit an application to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency's Ohio Public Water System Equipment Grant for grant funds for equipment for the public water system and declaring an emergency.
Okay, that is the third and final, or the final reading. So at this time, we'll entertain a motion to pass.
Make a motion.
Mr. Thrash. Second, Ms. Butler. We want to take a vote on the motion itself.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are
Okay, Resolution 2023-03 has been passed. Move on to 2023-04.
The next one is 2023-04, and that's the ordinance to approve the plan of operation and governance for the City of St. Clairsville's natural gas aggregation program, and authorizing and directing the mayor to sign all plan documents on behalf of the City of St. Clairsville and declaring an emergency. And I would entertain, at this point, council has any questions to ask Trey Bell's representative. And
Yeah, we have two representatives here this evening. If anybody has any questions prior to that.
I guess what are our rates looking at right now?
Glad you asked. Brought this tonight. I wasn't actually going to hand it out, but I had it with me, so I wanted to run through it. I think, so first of all, obviously, Trey Bell's pretty appreciative that you guys have chosen to work with us. I think one of the gifts that gives back immediately. If you guys look, I look back at the, I think it's the October 17th time frame, which is right around when we were talking originally. Rates were at 63 cents per CCF, and we made some recommendations that we don't think that you should go long on your deal, and you shouldn't, sure as heck, probably maybe even consider holding off because rates would be coming down. And they did. So today, when I left, the prompt month, which is the very next month here, was trading at 37 cents. So it's way down. What is driving this? I don't know. I was outside today. It was 55 degrees, and it's January. So that's really what's been pushing rates down quite a bit right now. Weather always is a big driver. It's the primary driver for energy rates. So the good thing is energy rates are way down. When we finally do lock into something, I suspect it'll be pretty good relative to how the markets have been. And the first thing we had to do when we got hired was to get your plan of operation governance kind of updated. I know that you guys have submitted your application to the PUCO, for which they've said we need a new plan of operation and governance. All of it was done on the volunteer energy paper. We just needed it to be a more neutral document for this, St. Clairsville. So that's been done. That's what we're here this evening to get done. I'll go back and just before you guys ask questions, the plan of operation and governance is a very general document. It's not meant to be specific. It doesn't mention rates. It doesn't mention a lot of things, but it just says it'll be generally run by, a consultant. It will be, voted on. We'll be looking at rates, etc. People can get in and out of the program, etc. Just general type of provisions within that. Even if Trey Bell weren't here, that document will survive. Not like the old volunteer one. It's good. So you're in good shape. From here, if we get that part done, we'll submit it to the PUCO hopefully tomorrow. At which point, it wouldn't take them very long to reissue your certificate. At which point, then I can go get rates for the community. And I do suspect that by the time, if they move quickly, by the time we get to your next meeting, we should have some rates ready to go for you. And let's, keep your fingers crossed, rates stay low, and we'll be able to execute on something.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments they wish to make?
I mean, it already looks like it's going up, so we need to get this done, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can just tell you that at 35 cents per CCF, where that's where the price of gas is trading, the raw price again, that's a pretty darn good rate. And if you just go looking historically, and then what's the likelihood? The likelihood it goes down might be 50 more cents, or 50 cents less, but the upside could be, a lot more. So, as you know, if you look at this graph, going back to even August, it was at 90 cents. So the downside isn't a whole lot more, but the upside that things could turn on us is a whole lot. A lot.
I'm just encouraging us to move.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Any other questions?
Does the warmer weather that we're having right now, does that kind of dictate lower or higher, or does that play anything into it?
Oh, it is. It's definitely a significant driver. There is a liquid natural gas plant coming online, which is a driver for upwards pressure because now we can export. It takes away from our stuff here domestically, but let's just, again, as long as we continue with this weather, the 10-day forecast is looking at above average temperatures here in the east. As long as that continues, I think rates will stay low, and I agree with all of you that we should probably move quickly to do something, to get it locked in. Okay.
So that's what this needs to pass. Because did we not, we've given you the authority to lock in, right?
Yes.
And this is
But
just-
this is
This
one
is
step
the-
needs to happen first before Fuco came back and basically said we had to revise what we had in there, which we had intentions of doing anyways, but they're saying you need to do it now. So,
Yeah, I mean, I feel a sense of urgency here. I mean, these rates are great, better than I would have ever expected, so hopefully they stay, but I just don't want it to delay, so we ready for this?
Yeah, if it turns cold, it could go up in a heartbeat.
Let's
Okay,
read.
Jacob, would you read ordinance 2023-04?
Ordinance number 2023-04, an ordinance to approve the plan of operation and governance for the City of St. Clairsville's natural gas aggregation program and authorizing and directing the mayor to sign all plan documents on behalf of the City of St. Clairsville and declaring an emergency.
I move that the rules requiring ordinances and resolutions to be read on 3 separate readings be suspended and declaring an emergency.
And we need a second. Mr. Smith, extraordinary Mr. Smith, we'll take a vote on whether or not to consider this emergency.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
It will be considered emergency, so we'll go on to the final reading for ordinance 2023-04.
Ordinance number 2023-04, an ordinance to approve the plan of operation and governance for the City of St. Clairsville's natural gas aggregation program and authorizing and directing the mayor to sign all plan documents on behalf of the City of St. Clairsville and declaring an emergency.
Okay, that is the final reading. I need a motion to vote on this. Mr. Thrash, Mr. Butler. Take a roll call vote, please.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor, motion carries.
2023-04 is passed. We move on now to resolution 2023-05.
2023-05 is the resolution authorizing the Public Service Director to submit an application to the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation Safety Intervention Grant for grant funds for safety equipment for the water, sewer, and/or street department and declaring an emergency.
Okay, Jacob, would you read the 2023-05 for the first reading, please?
Resolution number 2023-05, a resolution authorizing the Public Service Director to submit an application to the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation's Safety Intervention Grant for grant funds for the safety equipment for the water, sewer, and/or street department and declaring an emergency.
Does anyone wish to take further action on passing this as an emergency?
I move that the rules requiring ordinances and resolutions to be read on 3 separate readings be suspended and declaring an emergency.
Need a second, please? Ms. Lipscomb? Okay, we'll take a vote on considering emergency legislation.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Rash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Okay, it is considered emergency. We will now read it for the final reading.
Resolution number 2023-05, a resolution authorizing the Public Service Director to submit an application to the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation's Safety Intervention Grant for grant funds for safety equipment for the water, sewer, and/or street department and declaring an emergency.
Okay, does anyone wish to make a motion, Ms. Butler? Second? Mr. Trash? We'll now take a vote to pass 2023-05.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Rash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
2023-05 is passed unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to the next piece of legislation, ordinance 2023-06.
2023-06 is the ordinance providing authorization to the Director of the Public Service to purchase a utility bed truck for the sewer department under the Cooperative Purchasing Program, authorizing expenditure in excess of $50,000 and declaring an emergency.
Yes. Will somebody correct this?
Yeah, the
Okay.
misspelling of ordinance, yes.
Okay, Jake, would you read for the first reading 2023-06?
Ordinance number 2023-06, an ordinance providing authorization to the Director of Public Service to purchase a utility bed truck for the sewer department under the Cooperative Purchasing Program, authorizing an expenditure in excess of $50,000 and declaring an emergency.
Okay, that is the first reading. Does anyone wish to take emergency language on this?
Yes, please.
Yes. I move that the rules requiring ordinances and resolutions to be read on 3 separate readings be suspended and declaring an emergency.
We have a second. Mr. Trash. Take a vote to consider this emergency legislation.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Thrash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Okay, we'll now read ordinance 2023-06 for the final reading.
Ordinance number 2023-06, an ordinance providing authorization to Director of the Public Service to purchase a utility bed truck for the sewer department under the Cooperative Purchasing Program, authorizing an expenditure in excess of $50,000 and declaring an emergency.
Okay, that's the final reading. Mr. Trash. We need a second. So please.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Rash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Ordinance 2023-06 is passed. And I think we're very lucky on this because Jeremy told us earlier, the only reason we have an opportunity to buy this truck is because the purchaser that ordered it backed out of it. So if we didn't get this one, we could be waiting another year or two to get one. Okay, the last piece of legislation is Resolution 2022-49.
And Resolution 2022-49 is up for the third and final reading tonight. It has emergency language in it, just so that once it is, if you pass it, once it's passed, it can go into effect and the application can be submitted by the deadline, which is the end of the month.
Okay, Jacob, would you read 2022-49 for the third reading, please?
Resolution number 2022-49, a resolution authorizing the Public Service Safety Director on behalf of the City of St. Clairsville to file an application with the Ohio Department of Transportation for Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP, for train depot rehabilitation funding and declaring an emergency.
Can someone make a motion to trash? A second? Take a vote to pass the legislation.
Butler?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Lipscomb?
Yes.
Oakridge?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Rash?
Yes.
Vincenzo?
Yes.
All members are in favor.
Resolution 2022-49 has been passed unanimously. That concludes the agenda for this evening. I want to thank the people that are here this evening. It's nice to see some people in here instead of empty seats. Hopefully, people will keep coming. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to
You
adjourn.
wanna,
Yeah. Jamie.
Jamie?
It's up to you if you want to.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd say make it part of the record.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I won't take much of your
Sure,
time.
no problem.
I'm Jamie. So CARES is an acronym, the Belmont County CARES program. It's Community Access Resources, Education Solutions. So my job, the job of the program is to identify high-risk individuals, meet with them, try to figure out exactly what their issues are, and try to help mitigate and navigate those issues. So that's typically people that are underserved population, so elderly, people that, poor community, working with them to figure out what their problems are. So a lot of that, as it relates to healthcare, is access to a family doctor. So if they don't have a family physician, they don't have a medical home, somewhere they can go to get all of their health care, they typically will utilize emergency services. So to lessen the burden on emergency services is part of what I do. So making sure that they have a medical home, someone to take care of their medical needs. So a family doctor that they can call for typical prescriptions, things like that, working to make sure that they have all of their medications and know how to take them, they have access to them, things of that nature. And also can help with things like housing, assistance with utilities. So my job is to link them to resources that already exist. Many of you probably have family members that need help. So they don't often seek that help, or they don't know where to get that help. So I meet with them and try to link them to the appropriate resources. And I welcome any questions. I have some pamphlets I can pass out.
Sure. Any questions? Mike?
How do people know how to get a hold of you? Do you have an outreach program or anything?
So yeah, like I said, I have pamphlets. It's on the website. So
Okay.
and it's a consortium between Belmont County Commissioners with Senior Services of Belmont County, Job and Family Services of Belmont County Health Department, along with Cumberland Trail.
Thanks.
So anybody in Belmont County.
I'm sure there's a lot of good use for that. There's a lot of people that
Been
are
very busy.
desperately in need of any help.
Yeah, and I can pass out these pamphlets.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, he's gonna pass out some.
Thank you. Jamie, do you give these to like senior services when they do Meals on Wheels so they could give them to people?
Yeah, so that's something that, these actually just got these from printing copies
Nice.
today, so. But yeah, that is the plan.
Okay.
Catherine,
thanks.
should we have some, like, we could put on
Yeah,
Jen's
we
desk?
should.
Yes,
Yeah,
Jen's
leave
desk.
downstairs, yes, thank you.
Jen's, like the front thing?
Good.
There you go.
Jimmy, need a motion to adjourn?
Okay, this time we'll take a motion to adjourn.
I do.
And second, meeting adjourned.